How do you do? I'm Dustaroo. I recently had a troubling thought that came to me after I've been fighting some really good singularities recently. They were good on their timing, they had great instincts on cameras, and the amount of control they had on the match was borderline oppressive. I felt genuine fear in how I had to proceed in these matches. It is solo queue, so that's the grain of salt we have to take with it. I played an unhealthy amount of games during the anniversary event. Let's just say I'm going to make it till next year only on tiramisus. If the inevitable diabetes I'm going to contract as a result doesn't kill me first.
Please, Daddy.
I told you, when I'm finished, you can have what's left.
There won't be any left. There's never any left.
Oh!
Happy anniversary?
But, yeah, let's get back to the point. I played so many matches during the event, and even with the Singularity being released only a couple weeks earlier, I could count on my hands the amount I actually encountered during the event. Some were good, some were bad, maybe only one or two actually felt like they knew how to deliver proper pressure. Yet, days after the event, I've started to see the endangered species known as the Singularity start to reproduce. And while they may not have been programmed to harm the crew, they're definitely learning. Positioning of the biopods, use of them in chase, the synergistic perks? My point being, they're adapting to their environment, and they're primed to become an apex predator. From day one, I've loved the Singularity, from his lore, to all of his designs, voice, Mori, to even his power. I've always wanted a camera killer in Dead by Daylight. It's been one of my biggest asks. Just having the ability to have cameras placed around the map so I can get information about what's happening in the match at my own discretion has been a dream, honestly. Then to my own surprise, not only are Singularity's cameras not an info tool, but also a weapon that can be wielded and perfected. Singularity helped reignite my passion for playing killer once again. I had little desire to actually play killers in general for a while. I can't think of a particular reason why. I just wasn't interested. But Hux whisked me up and absorbed me back into loving the role and all the varying ways to learn and just play the game differently. I found killer engaging again. Just a little tangent I wanted to go on, but I wanted to explain why I love the Singularity on both sides. There's a lot of depth on both sides. How to use the cameras, how to play against them. I found it as a really fresh way to play this game that has been relatively the same over the years. Now instead of just looking to disarm traps to neuter the killer before a chase, or just waiting around for the M1 killer to do the usual loops, I'm now playing cautiously around the map at all times, not looking to get caught out unexpectedly, but instead of looking at the ground, I'm staring off into the sky, often caught in a tense staring contest with the minty meatball, holding M1 on my generator. But this brings me to my big fear I have regarding my beloved. No one has really gone out to make any hate or arguments that the Singularity is annoying or oppressive, or at least none that really have caught any traction. Most of the public sentiment I've been seeing around this killer is that he's just, one, frustrating to play as, his power can be disabled or interrupted at a survivor's discretion, not your own. Two, he is a heavy mental investment to do well. From needing to position your cameras in good spots to being able to hit a survivor quickly mid-chase and keep reorienting yourself from hopping onto a cam, back to Hux, back to cam, back to Hux, all while keeping track of where the survivor's going or where they're probably going to be going, where the other survivors are around you, if they have EMPs. It's way more mentally taxing than, let's just say, Wesker, where you have to dash forward or try and angle your virulent bound so you can maybe slide on an obstacle, get a hit, maybe hop over a vault at a right time. And usually he's just as effective, if not stronger, than learning or playing the Singularity. And three, he is map dependent. I'm gonna be honest here, not my proudest moment, but I did have a match on Larry's with Singularity against some really strong survivors, and I I kept messing up, and then the combination of hardly being able to use his cameras as information tools, let alone in chase, was just... it was just too much, and I felt like I had to concede. I didn't know the killer well enough, and I just played terribly. It was discouraging. With all these points, I agree to some extent, with some issues more than others. I think most people's hangups with the Singularity are kind of overblown, and I feel that most of the opinions that were made on the Singularity were made before his most recent buffs. So seeing how hardly any Singularities have actually been playing since he launched, let alone after his update, I think it makes sense that most people still hold these feelings towards the Singularity's power level and overall enjoyment to play. But I see the tides changing. I'm going to make a call, a hunch, a guess, a downright soul read, whatever you want to call it. Over the next couple months, I feel that Singularity is going to pick up steam and become a quite popular and effective killer, to a point where I think we're going to see public opinion switch over from him being a cool but not that great killer like the Oni, where you can do really good with him, but he has some issues that hold him back from many people trying to main him or just play him a lot on average. I think he's going to fall more in line with how people are viewing Wesker nowadays. As in, he's good and really annoying to play against. Maybe for different reasons, but I think there's going to be a love and hate for this killer. I think as more and more people start to understand how to play the Singularity well and get good use out of his power, public sentiment is going to switch from enjoyment to annoyance and disdain. Once a Singularity knows how to set up his web and constantly can keep survivors slipstream, pallets are going to be disappearing from the map faster than my teammates are from the trial after no-ed procs. I can already smell the keyboards lighting up on forums and Twitter of how the Singularity is one of the most boring and OP killers to be released by behavior in a long time. With Nicolas Cage's perks likely to be popular for at least a month or so after his release, the amount of survivors who are going to be found laying on the ground after being spotted by a distant Singularity camera is going to be crazy. And you can't forget the dramaturgy exposed into overclock pallet breaks. That has me sweating at the thought of the amount of hate he's going to be receiving. Especially as people start to perfect their placements, timings, and builds. I could see a lot of people DCing right out of the match if they know it's a Singularity. Of course, this is entirely a guess and depends if players actually give Singularity a chance. Maybe if more content creators start to actually understand how to use him effectively. Because I have to admit, I had to turn off a couple content creators' videos because of their misunderstanding of how to use his power. And they would just keep smashing their head into a wall trying to force a playstyle that just won't work most of the time. But I feel that's going to change. Once he's learned, he'll be quite powerful. Maybe not Nurse or Blight levels of fantastic results, but I think pubs, mainly solos or duos, are going to be absolutely rolled. I believe the Singularity is the most slept on killer in DBD. You could argue for the artist, but I think a lot of people know how good the artist is, they just don't like playing her. I think Singularity is definitely the slept on one. He's just held back by the jankiness of some maps and the learning curve to being able to actually do alright in the match. I don't say this as I think he'll be some godly unstoppable force. I think the community is going to go through some turmoil regarding the Singularity in the not so distant future. Specifically because a lot of players are going to struggle adapting to the consistent Singularities. Stranger things have happened. Just look at the whole Windows of Opportunity debate. Is it OP? This is something I never would have in my entire time since early October of 2017 of maining this game expected to see as an actual community argument. So at this point, I'm ready for anything. And I think this anything includes the community is going to be up in arms at some point this year about the Singularity. Maybe even so much that he gets nerfed. Do you agree, or do you think I'm actually delusional? Like, most people aren't even going to attempt to try and play this killer, let alone master him enough that it becomes a talking point. Let me know. Did I miss something, or do you think he's a pot that's about to boil over and make a mess over the entire community? Like, comment, subscribe, you know the whole thing. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Dustaroo, and I'll see you all real soon. Bye bye.